Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to our channel. Today's video is going to be, I want to say a short one, but I always say that and they're always long, so maybe I won't say it this time. But today's video is going to be a video, and we're going to just kind of be looking at my witchcraft books and which ones I would recommend. I do have more books than the ones that you'll see in this video. However, I did lend a lot of my witchcraft books to a friend of mine who I'm no longer speaking with, so I don't know if I'll get them back or not, but that's okay. So instead I'm just going to show all the witchcraft books I have and then kind of just discuss my pros and cons about them or what I think about them, and then, you know, whether or not I would recommend them for you. I also want to say I do have books, as you can see from my shelf, having plenty of books over there. I have a lot on tarot or Lenormand reading, on divination, on palmistry, on runes, on astrology. Most of my books that I have are on astrology. So if you ever want to see kind of like a video on, you know, like astrology book recommendations or something, then that is definitely something that we can do. Or likewise, if you want to see a book on like cookbook, or a video, sorry, on cookbook recommendations or poetry recommendations or anything like that, just let me know and I'll be happy to do those videos. So anyway, we'll get into this video. I have my books beside me, mainly because I don't want to have to get up a whole bunch. But I figured we would just start. I have two piles of them, those being small ones and big ones. So let's do the bigger ones, I think, that way I can stack the small ones on top of them. But the first book I have that's good for witchcraft and stuff is Moon Power. Lunar Rituals for Connecting with Your Inner Goddess. I don't even remember getting this book, to be honest, but I enjoy it to some extent, and I also have a couple bones to pick with it. So, firstly, when you open the book, you know, you have your table of contents and the introduction. And the introduction, you know, talks a little bit about how to perform good or effective rituals, which is nice because it does work with rituals, or like have a ritual for each lunar season. And then it talks about moon power and what the importance of the moon is with us. But it also kind of starts talking a little bit about, I mean, and you might have got this before I did because of the way that it says your inner goddess. It does associate the moon very heavily with being a feminine energy and, you know, being very important to women and to periods and stuff. And there's just kind of the wording in that I personally disagree with, because not everyone who has a period is a woman, and not every woman has a period. And likewise, you know, witchcraft isn't just for women, or isn't just for people who identify with feminine energy. Anybody who's masculine or a man or androgynous or anything else can be a witch, and therefore also do lunar rituals. So anyway, then it starts talking about your inner goddess. And this is, yeah, okay, so right away it says, dealing with moods. Although some men are getting better at expressing their intuition and emotions, women are still considered the sensitive gender. That's a sentence, for sure, yep, that's a whole sentence. So the way they talk about that, and then they also they go on to talk about how us as women, our emotions are greatly influenced by the moon, and if you're feeling really moody, it's probably just because of what the moon is doing. So overall, because of the wording in this book and the sexism, if you will, I don't think I would recommend it. There's aspects of it that are really good, and I do enjoy those aspects of it, and I do use it periodically. I don't think it's great, and I disagree with a lot of what's in the book. But after that, they go on to the different moon signs. So if you know anything about astrology, we do have a personal moon sign. So for example, my zodiac is Cancer. That would be the sign that the sun was in during my time of birth. But then my moon sign, when I was born, the moon was in Pisces. So I'm a Pisces moon. So yeah, it gives like, here's moon in Aries, and then, you know, you could just flip through to your moon. So if mine, you know, for example, is Pisces, it would be near the end of the book, because Pisces is at the end of the zodiac wheel. Yeah, moon in Pisces. And then it talks about you know, what you might be like if your moon is in Pisces, and kind of what your superpower is versus what your shadow is. So that's all like really interesting information, and I definitely, you know, I like that talk about it and that side of things. They also talk a little bit about your past lives, because the moon signs do tend to give us a little bit of insight into our past life. But then it says Pisces moon women. And then it just talks about what you as a woman are like with this sign. Is there a section for Pisces moon men? Nope. Is there a sign for Pisces moon non-binaries? Nope. It just focuses on that. So again, I don't like that very much. Then it also talks about which goddess you should worship being a Pisces moon, or what would be important to you, and it takes deities from just various different, I can't think of the word, but like groups of deities, whatever you call that. Don't know why I'm blanking on it, but it takes them from different places. So like this one is Sedna, and it is taking that goddess as a native Inuit goddess, which I don't know if you're allowed to worship goddesses from Native Americans or not. It's not really something I would know much on, but it talks about that and how to build like an altar towards that person, or that goddess rather. And then at the end of each moon, it has new moon rituals and full moon rituals, and then what to do when the moon is in that sign, along with questions for reflecting and journaling. So that is something that I do use somewhat often. You know, it's good for me to check the list of things that are good to do during that moon sign, that I'm taking full advantage of the energy. And also I do use sometimes the new and full moon rituals if I don't really have anything else planned for that day. It's like we just had the new moon in Leo, like yesterday, I think. And that was just that ritual was just kind of like have a nice bath, look at yourself in the mirror and say that you're stunning and beautiful. And it was just for like self-love, right? So that was like a really nice ritual to do. And I also do like to look at the questions for reflecting and journaling and just kind of reflect on those questions. And then a year later, when the moon is back in that position, I'll go back and re-answer those questions, but see what I had written down last year and see if I'm in the same mindset. So I do like it for those reasons, and I just think I like that side of it. Everything else in this book, though, I don't vibe with. So Moon Power, the author is Simone Butler. I would avoid it, honestly. If you are curious about any of the contents, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I will pass on some of the information. I do sometimes change some of the information, because I remember the full moon in Aquarius ritual that I did earlier in Leo season. One of the questions for reflection and journaling, it said, do you consider yourself an androgynous? Journal about that, including any so-called masculine qualities. And I was like, so I just totally got rid of that question. And then the full moon ritual was talking about how you should worship with part of your coven if you have one. I don't personally have a coven. I'm a soul practicer, whatever you want to call it. I'm a bit of a lone wolf, though. I don't work with other witches or anything. I'm always open to it, but I would never have a coven of my own. However, when they talk about using a coven, they talk about having your sisters. So you get at least 3 like-minded sisters. And I was like, or brothers, or siblings of the craft, like. So yeah, if you ever want any of this information, let me know, but just know that I might be changing some of the wording because I don't agree with it at all. So that's my take on that book. Again, that's The Moon Power by Simone Butler. If you like working with the moon, I would consider myself a cosmic witch, so the moon is very important to me. Then, it might be interesting to at least hear a bit about that book, but yeah, it's not worth it to buy. I would not recommend funding that author in this way, at least. The next book I have is The Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Wheel of the Year. So if you're the kind of person, and it's by Judy Ann Nock. If you're the kind of person who really wants to celebrate the Sabbats, I do recommend this book. I haven't really read it in a while, but I don't think I ever really had a problem with it. I don't think they really, they're not specifying genders or anything, which is beautiful to me, and it's definitely not something you commonly get, because a lot of people do associate witch with being a woman thing, which it's not. But I don't think they ever use those associations. They just talk about how to celebrate the Sabbats and what each Sabbat represents. So it's really It's really interesting, and I enjoyed it a lot, and it's good as a reference book. You know, if you ever are coming upon a Sabbath and you're like, man, like, how am I supposed to celebrate this? I don't know anything about it. You can easily find it in here. At least somewhat easy. I think there's a table. Yeah, there's a table of contents which goes through everything. So, you know, we've got the introduction, and then it starts with Samhain, because most people would consider Samhain the end of the Wiccan or pagan year. And then, you know, follows the rest of the wheel after that. So Samhain, Yule, Imbolc, I think is how it's pronounced, Ostara, Belton, Letha, Lunasa, Mabon, and then, is that it? Oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. So we just finished celebrating Lunasa. That was August 1st, which means Mabon or Mabon. I'm really bad at pronouncing things. But that is coming up. So if you're like, okay, like, how do I celebrate Mabon? What am I supposed to do for that Sabbath? Then, you know, you see that it's 181 in the book. So you would flip to 181. I'm sure most of you know how to read a table of contents. And then it shows you this, season 8, Mabon. The harvest is home. So then it first talks a little bit about the Sabbath. This is like it's the autumn equinox, I believe. So right when, like, the day and the night is like the exact same, just as it would be in the spring, I think. So it talks about that, and it's about kind of, it is the autumn equinox, sorry. So then it talks about, like, kind of the legends of Mabon, or Mabon. And then any, like, celestial events that are going on, you know, different types of constellations you can see during this time, depending on where you are, of course. But I think that is super cool, in my opinion, being, you know, super astronomically guided. I like seeing different constellations. Then it also talks about, you know, how, well, not, you know, but it talks about the different astrological influences, that being Virgo and Libra, seeing how it does happen in Virgo season. However, you know, it used to be in Libra season, I believe, and commonly marks the beginning of Libra season, just as Ostara typically marks the beginning of Aries season. So it talks a bit about Virgo and Libra. Then it goes on about meditations and kind of what meditations you can do. And then it gives you a ritual that you can do. So just this is a symbolic harvest. So yeah, it goes through all that. And that also gives you a practical craft. So if you're the kind of person that likes to do actual real crafts instead of just like rituals, it gives you a little craft that you can do during this time. I think this is a cornucopia, I believe. But yeah, so this book I recommend. I recommend it a lot. I don't think I have any problems with it. There's a lot of information. I do think I sometimes wish that it was broken down a little bit better, because really the table of contents just shows you where each Sabbath is, then you have to read the whole thing for information. So if you're trying to just quickly find something in here, it's not the best for that. But if you have like a good understanding of witchcraft and you're just kind of looking more to deepen your knowledge or deepen your practice with the Sabbaths, then this is a really good book. Like I said, it's the Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Wheel of the Year by Judy Ann Nock. There is a lot of different kind of like Modern Witchcraft Guide to books. I don't think I have any others, but I think I would also be okay to recommend them. And that's the thing too, if you ever see a book that you want to know if it's worth reading or not, let me know. I have no problem with ordering books or buying books, especially relating to witchcraft. And then I am a very fast reader. That is my one talent, is that I can read extremely fast. So, you know, if you were to ask me to review a book before you buy it, I could easily probably get it read and have the video published by like the end of the week type thing. So yeah, if you saw other Modern Witchcraft Guide 2 books and you were like, man, like I wanted to hear about this one instead of the Wheel of the Year one, just let me know and I'll look into getting it and telling you whether it's worth it to buy or not. And of course, a video focusing on one individual book is going to be much more in-depth and knowledgeable than, you know, one focusing on a couple different books. The next big book I have, not big book, but bigger than my other ones, is The House Witch. My younger sibling got this for me, which I thought was very sweet of her. It is by Erin Murphy Hiscock. It's an exciting last name. Who also wrote The Green Witch. I think I will be buying The Green Witch at some point because I really like this book. Again, I wouldn't necessarily say if it's 100%. It's hard for me to get through. Not because it's not interesting, but just because I am very picture-based. And I sometimes struggle with large clumps of information, especially nowadays. My mind is just not the way it used to be. So it can be hard for me to read everything if it's just like thrown at me in big paragraphs. But they definitely do a good job of keeping it exciting, and they talk about a lot of different things. And they also, like, the table of contents is broken down extremely well. You know, like, I'll show you a page here. So you've got the contents, chapter 1, a place to call home, and then basically every single subtitle in chapter 1. So Hearth Witchcraft and Home-Based Spirituality, why Hearthcraft is so special, everyday things can be magical, building your spiritual headquarters, caring for those inside your home, caring for those outside your home, the path of nurturing and nourishing, and kitchen witchcraft. And then, you know, it goes on from there to all the different chapters after that, which go up to chapter 11. And then I think, yeah, they also have an appendix, which I think would be nice if you ever, yeah, so here's, is it called an appendix or is it an index? I guess it's index, but here, you know, gives a whole bunch of just different things you can, like, look up and find the exact pages for. So if you wanted to, what's something good here? Yeah, if you wanted to look at candles, for example, you would just find candles, and then it goes down to consecrating, lamps, sacred flames and lighting, rituals using, safer alternative to, and symbolism of. So just say you wanted to look at the symbolism of candles, that would be page 38. Then you could just immediately flip to page 38. And I'm not seeing it here. Oh, actually I do at the very bottom. So it doesn't even go into detail about what each color mean. It just says candles are frequently used to symbolize energy of all kinds, activity, illumination, and faith, among other things. So yeah, I think it's a very good book, but it's not a beginner book, I wouldn't say. This is kind of a book that, again, if you already have your base of knowledge in witchcraft, you already have a lot of things written down or a lot of knowledge on the different subjects and areas, then get this book. Because it kind of just helps you deepen your knowledge, which is a lot of what my books are. They're meant to just deepen your knowledge instead of be beginner books, because I'm past the beginner stage. But it is, I do like this book. You know, I don't think I have any terrible problems with it, except that I just find it sometimes hard to find things, and I feel like I have to read the whole thing to find what I'm looking for. But I still do enjoy it. You know, they talk about different cauldrons you can have, how to bless your cauldron, different deities that are good to worship if you are into deity worship, especially as a home witch or house witch or hearth witch, whatever term you may use, different altars or something you could use. I think too, they are more about just simple little things you can do. So this book I think would be really good for a closet witch. So if you're somebody who, you know, you live in a home or something where you aren't allowed to let people know that you have this side of you, and it's just, you know, kind of risky for you to display this, or you're just afraid of being judged, this might be a good book because it gives you just a lot of really small things that you can do, you know, instead of doing something really big and really obvious. Like here, you know, just straight up says, wash your doorstep with purifying wash. Then it gives you the chapter to find this, you know, wash that they're talking about to purify it. Just to, you know, just to purify or cleanse the energy of your home. And I'm sure if you live with your parents and you're not allowed to, well, I mean, if you're not allowed to practice witchcraft, I'm not encouraging you to do so because, you know, that's not right of me. However, if you already are practicing it, then yeah, no one's going to be suspicious about you washing a doorstep. You know, just be like, I'm just trying to keep it clean around here. So yeah, I really like this book. I think it's good for just a wide variety of people, so long as you already have the knowledge you need to understand this book. And it, like I said, it goes a lot more in depth about things. So I enjoy it a lot. You just have to be willing and ready to read all of it. But yeah, I should go through it again because I don't think I've ever went through it, you know, page by page, but I think it would be a good read. It also talks a lot about kitchen witchcraft, which I love to cook, so kitchen witchcraft is right up my alley. has recipes for you as well. So yeah, I do recommend this book, but like I said, I recommend it more so for those who already have a knowledge of witchcraft instead of those who are beginners. We only got 3 more books left. Sorry, we're already at 20 minutes. But I'll go through these ones quickly. We've got A Spell a Day by Cassandra Easton for health, wealth, love, and more. And then it's straight up. You open it up, they have their little introduction on this page, and then everything else is spells. And I believe it's 365 spells for 365 days. Actually, 366. And then they also have their index at the back. That way, if you're looking for a spell on passing your driver's test, right there. That's a very specific spell, but if you're looking for that, page 31, and then you know right to go to page 31. And there's your spell. And then it tells you at the top what you will need. So for this one specifically, it's 4 bright yellow candles set in a square, an incense stick, a crystal, or a lucky charm in the center of the candle square. Then it gives you timing, so you know the best timing to do the spell, whether that would be a date, or a certain moon phase, or just a day of the week. So this, for example, the timing just says the evening before the test. And then the spell, it just gives you the instructions. So in this case, light the 4 candles in turn clockwise, say for each north, south, east, west, I will pass my driving test. This is kind of like opening a circle or closing a circle. When you're doing a ritual, they're just simplifying it a lot. Light the incense stick from the 4 candles in turn, repeating the spell words for each candle. Write an incense smoke over each candle, north, south, east, west, I can pass my driving test. Blow out each of the candles in reverse order of lighting. After you blow out each one, say north, south, east, west, I have passed my driving test. Let the incense burn through, then scatter the ash outdoors. Relight the candles and let them burn through. Take the crystal or charm to the test center the next morning for luck. So they're very simple spells. Some of them I find maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say childish, but that's kind of how they come across to me. But it's less so that they're childish and just more so that they're trying to make it accessible for everybody. If you don't have a good knowledge of spells or witchcraft, you can still use that book. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing so. I like to have that base knowledge. That way when I'm looking at a spell, I can tweak it as necessary, or change it to fit my needs more, or at least just understand why they're doing what they're doing. But that's absolutely not necessary. If you just want to blindly follow something along, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Just make sure you are trying to be as critical about it as you can. But yeah, it's okay to just try things out, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and that's okay too. So yeah, if you're new to witchcraft, I definitely recommend that. And even if you're not new to witchcraft, I still recommend it because you can have fun playing around with some of those spells. And like I said, it's really easy to find what spell you're looking for, and they just take up like a page, so it's very, very simple spells. The next book is the one that I figured I'd have a problem with after getting it and then reading it and then being like, oof. The Little Book of Witchcraft. This is a very popular book from what I've heard, and they have a lot of really good information. They break it down very easily. I do enjoy that it was easy for me to read. However, they go into history about it. They talk about like just basic things, good tools you need, an altar, wands, if you use wands, candles, incense, etc., etc. And then I believe at the back, they even go into chakras, nice. At the back they do have spells and stuff, which is awesome. That's super great. So it's very good for beginners. It uses the term white witch and white magic throughout the whole thing, which is where I have a problem with it. And I've spoken to other witches about this, specifically ones that have a right to be offended by this, so this being, specifically black witches in the community, they do have a problem with these terms, white and black magic. So this isn't just me as a white person trying to be socially aware and stuff. I have actual people in my DM saying, yeah, we don't like that term, or at least I don't like this term, I would prefer if people don't use it. And in my opinion, if one person that using those terms might offend says they don't like it, then that's enough for me to not want to use those terms, even if the majority are okay with it, So, and in that case, it doesn't seem like it is the majority. Like I said, there's been a number of black witches I've spoken to who say, like, yeah, I don't really like that wording. It just kind of helps perpetuate bad stereotypes. which I can definitely see that being the case, because when we use white to associate positivity and good things and, lightness and happiness and stuff, and then we use black to associate with negativity or evil or nasty or mean, like that's, even if it's in the terms of witchcraft or magic, like we're still kind of pushing that stereotype, and it can be a little bit offensive, or just kind of, like I said, perpetuate those stereotypes, which we don't want to do. So for that reason, I don't really like this book. I found myself physically like cringing every single time they talked about white witchcraft and white magic. And the other problem I have with it too is that magic isn't that simple. Like, it's not like every single spell, every single ritual, every single thing you do could be bad or good. Like, magic itself, like, it's not a good or bad thing, right? It's just the energy that we all have around us. So manipulating it in any way is, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but, like, I just don't think that it's as simple as good magic versus bad magic. And I especially don't think that if it was that simple, we should be using or continuing to use terms like white or light magic or black or dark magic. So yeah, please try to refrain from using the terms white witchcraft or white magic or calling yourself a white witch. But other than that, I mean, the book is good and they have a lot of good information. They also try to be very inclusive. Like in the beginning of their introduction, they say witchcraft is frequently considered the domain of women, but men and those who are gender fluid may also find that witchcraft resonates for them too. That's kind of a good note to mention. I enjoy that, but yeah, I personally can't get over the use of white magic. It makes me really uncomfortable, and I've heard from other people that they are offended by that, so I don't really use that book much. So in my opinion, I wouldn't recommend it. I think there are just as good beginner books out there. Maybe not as easy to carry around, but in terms of funding something that could offend someone versus funding something that's a little bit more annoying to carry around, like, I'm probably going to go for the one that's harder to carry around. But yeah, that's my take on it. So like I said, if you already have that book, then continue using it. But if you're looking for good beginner witchcraft books, that's not the one. And I hopefully will be able to find some good beginner ones that I can review for you. The last book we have is Be More Witch. I have skimmed through this book and I don't think I have any problems with it. Again, it's not great for beginner witches, I don't think. It's more good for people who already like have knowledge in witchcraft and are just kind of ready to deepen their knowledge, or just to figure out a way to incorporate it into their daily life. So that's what, this is a really good book for me trying to get back into my knowledge, right? They sometimes do tend to use more feminine language, which again isn't the best, but they don't use it very often. Like at the beginning they said she, but like they have switched from there, it looks like, back to using they. So, but yeah, I think it's a very cute, very cute book. I don't know why I almost said joke. Very cute book. They have like witchy ways to get in touch with Mother Nature. That's adorable. I love that. Talk about, little potions for success and clarity. I really like this book. I really, really do. And I think it's the cutest. So yeah, this book I would recommend, but again, it's not good for beginners. Like the Little Book of Witchcraft, I think is much better for beginners, which, by the way, this is by, I don't even know who it's by. The text, so the writing is by Anna Martin. It looks like, and it was published by Andrews McMeel Publishing. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Whereas Be More Witch is written by Allison Davies. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one, but again, it's not that great for beginners just because it isn't super knowledge based. However, like, it still breaks things down quite well. Like, I don't think you have to be super knowledgeable on it to still enjoy this book. I think that you could just have a little bit of knowledge, or at least understand kind of the importance of energy from different things, and still enjoy that book. So that's the video. Sorry, I keep biting my lip. I have a problem. Anyway, overall though, the books that I recommend, like I said, is Be More Witch by Allison Davies, The House Witch by Erin Murphy Hiscock, The Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Wheel of the Year by Judy Ann Nock, And then maybe if you're looking for very simplified spells, A Spell a Day by Cassandra Eason. Those are the 4 books that I really, really recommend if you're going to get any. And yeah, like I said, if you have any books that you want to hear me review and I can go, have a 30-minute video dedicated to just one single book, then I'm more than willing to do that, especially if it's a book that like you are curious about buying. Even if I don't have it already, I'm still going to want to buy it because I like getting more knowledge too anyway. So yeah, don't be afraid to let me know what books you want to see or what videos you want to see in the future. And if you like this or you just, found it informative in any way, please leave a like, subscribe, or comment. Comment rather. And yeah, that's tonight's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was kind of long, but that's pretty typical of me. Anyway, I love you all very much, and I will see you tomorrow.